ambulance is now making its way into the house of the former president. It will be led by President Bola Tinubu, will be leading the delegation of mourners who will be coming in to also witness the internment of the body of the former president. We can see the governor of Kaduna State making his way in. We can also see the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Tajudeen Abbas, who is also trying to catch a glimpse of what is happening here. Security is very tight, and the military personnel are right here to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order. We can see the former Vice President, Yemi Oshibanjo, making his way into that arena.
This thing building up. Then the question is, how come Buhari, Malami, instead of Malami, Abusalami, and Mama Daura were in the same hospital when Buhari died? All of them were admitted in the same hospital.
Key innocent Biafrans. What is your take as regards Buhari's son begging Nigerians against them forgiving his father?
I think the problem is that they have seen the reality on ground, and Nigerians have distanced themselves from that family, except for those political class Fulanis that masterminded, whether he is still the Buhari we thought or not. Yes, 42 years, born 1942, in a family. I think Buhari is the only son. The real Buhari we are talking about is the only son. I think he went through the ranks, it came to a limelight, Nigerian Biafra war factor, which he has never ceased to talk about. But today, he died in London in a private clinic, and today we are seeing the family, the son, the wife, all of them are struggling to identify how the process of the burial at the end of the day. What is happening in Kaduna today? A lot of people will be surprised because the federal government has already distanced themselves from anything that has to do with direct contact with Aisha, maybe possibly because of the crisis that is going on within the Buhari family circle. Because I can tell you clearly that Aisha is not the only one that is married to this very man. He has other wives too, married to the former head of state, and of course the last civilian president before Bola met Tinubu, came to power. But there is something that's already fishing. Apart from what the beating government is talking about, and we are hearing another story that it's possible it might not get to Daura. It's possible it can be taken to, because many things have been feasted, controversial statement, But what we want to say here is that the son has come out very clearly and made it very clearly to Nigerians, and of course to whole world. I think he was trying to direct that statement to IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, for what the dad did was absolutely wrong, and that he holds the Igbos in high esteem, and that he is apologizing to he's Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I remember, the wife came out some time ago to say that that the Buhari left a will. And what is the will? I said Buhari read that will, that whoever he stepped on, they should find a place in their heart to forgive him. Well, to forgive Buhari is another thing, but that's not it's left for those who feel that Buhari actually crossed the line to know whether they are going to consider his forgiveness appeal to families, individuals that would have died as a result of his stand on issue that has to do with so many things in terms of insecurity, in terms of the Igbo people. It might not likely have any clash with people of Southwest, even though they have deep reservation that he never wanted Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be president until the begging came and he needed to open the door. But we are seeing this thing building up. Then the question is, how come Buhari, Malami, it's not even Malami, Abusalami, and Mama Daura were in the same hospital when Buhari died? All of them were admitted in the same hospital. Well, I don't know how these things are playing out, this time around. Everything is just happening within a space of time, and within that period too, we are seeing this thing. Our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we are not anywhere to be found. And look at the way he came in. As if it's not also very strong. As in looking at Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I don't know where he came from. After he left Brazil, but if you look at him very well, when he was dropping at Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, he was not looking very okay. Maybe he was just mourning his predecessor, Bola Muhammadu Buhari. Okay, let us believe that that assertion is actually true. But what we are seeing in Daura today is something that reminds Nigeria of what transpired in 2017 and what the world is looking at to see at the end of the day. Is Aisha confused that this might not be the man that I got married to? Or why is it that the DSS is trying to stop her? There's this seeming gang up, there's this arrangement, there's this, a plan not to allow her have access to anything that has to do with Buhari's body. Then, who is then in charge? That's the question a lot of people are asking. It's not at the airport to receive the husband. From what we are hearing, it's possible that she's not in Daura, and including the children, the people who are going to lead, the burial, funeral arrangement are unknown to us, and we are hearing that most of them were imported from different parts of the world, linking themselves to the agenda that has brought Nigeria into critical fragmentation in terms of Boko Haram, things like that, Arab world, Arab interest, Fulanization, Islamization, and what does Buhari actually represent? The North is also crying. The foreigners feel that they have lost hope in anything Nigeria. They are begging the Igbos at this point to see how they can come, and that they are ready to drop their weapons, to drop their arms, to drop whatever, and embrace Biafra, and embrace Mazinam the Cat, and if possible, and because the arrowhead, the man that was behind the whole thing, seems to have been having, a mysterious and controversial lifestyle that nobody can actually be pinpointed. Though they said that Buhari is a cat with 9 lives. And how do a lot of journalists begin to uncover some of the things we are hearing today about the late former president and former head of state?
But do you think that the Nigerians, we saw what really happened in NSAS? There's no way the Nigerian military would have shot at innocent Nigerians used that were protesting without the order of the president, of the ex-president. And at the same time, in Nnamdi saw what really happened. Do you think that the Igbos will erase the memory of Buhari, to what he did to the Biafrans and Nnamdi Kanu at large? Do you think they will ever
keeping Buhari's memory, keeping Buhari's memory in the Biafran archive and the memory of over 80 million or 85 million Igbos in Nigeria is just about, let me say, giving ourselves and consciousness virus, because there's no iconic thing that you can look at Buhari and say you appreciate. But Buhari is not iconic in all ramification, but when you look at Buhari very well, you know that this is a man who was set up by a certain agenda. One, he was compensated for being part of the criminality that led to the Nigeria Biafra war. And secondly, he represents the Arab interest in trying to take Nigeria to OIC. Three, he was the agenda that brought that started Islamization agenda in the southern part of the country. Four, he's a nice patron of all the Arab Islamic jihadists, including Boko Haram, around the world. So Buhari, to me, to anybody who want to understand who Buhari is nothing but somebody you cannot even place very close to a dog. That is the truth. Have place in the memory of over 6 million Igbo that died in the Nigeria Biafra war. And secondly, 28 people that were murdered in Nnamdi Kanu's house. I saw what happened recently, and the game was just like, oh, in Lekki, how come that so many people were being killed by when Fela called it unknown soldiers, and Buhari said he's not aware. And not because these are the kind of things that tells you about the state of mind of this man, that he actually lost consciousness. When you tell them that there's no reason of this type of people becoming president, and they said yes, it's part of the ongoing Fulanization conversation of the Nigeria Biafra war led by Gowon. Gowon are the one factoring these things in, just to make sure that they succeeded in making sure that the extermination of the Igbo nation, is their prime. So at that point, no record of anything that has to do with Buhari. We are not talking about Buhari, but unfortunately for the Fulanis, they never saw it coming that there was a man called Nnamdi Kanu who is, preparing, whom God prepared underground, and when the time comes, he surfaces. Buhari is gone. Nnamdi Kanu is still alive. All the manipulation to kill him in Kenya backfired. Whether he dodged, whether he ran away, whether the Northerners planned anything surrounding Buhari, the world is calling for the investigation of how Buhari left Daura to Kaduna, from Kaduna to London, from London maybe to somewhere else, and the next thing we are hearing that he's dead. The whole world is calling for investigation. The world leaders are saying they needed to find out. The security agencies are working to unravel, because it is not only Nnamdi Kanu that have the privilege of saying what he said in 2017. But that is Nigeria for you. Nobody going to talk about it. How Buhari suddenly transformed to a sportsman in Abuja, where we saw Garba Shehu making a lot of indicting statement, and of course rendering an indirect apology to the IPOB. It is only IPOB that knows, that can stand the forces of Islamization in Nigeria. And now that it looks like the head has been cut off, the Fulanis in Nigeria are already on the run.
Hearing sounds of the ambulance, which is making its way into the house of the former President Muhammadu Buhari. The service chiefs are on parade. Other senior military officers as well are also on parade. So at this moment, we are waiting for the ambulance to make its way into the house. We can see governors arrive, Babagana Zulum of Borno State. We can see senators also arrive, who are just coming back from the helipad where they went to pray for the repose of the soul of the president according to Islamic rites. So these are live pictures. A couple of them are now making their way into the garden designated to the garden where his body will be committed to the earth. Sympathizers are trooping in to his house, hoping to catch a glimpse of what will be the last for them of maybe the body of the former president. The press have been restricted to this area to ensure there is law and order. The ambulance is now making its way into the house of the former president. It will be led President Bola Tinubu will be leading the delegation of mourners who will be coming in to also witness the internment of the body of the former president. We can see the governor of Katsina State making his way in. We can also see the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Tajudeen Abbas, who is also trying to catch a glimpse of what is happening here. Security is very tight, and the military personnel are right here to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order. We can see the former Vice President, Yemi Oshibanjo, making his way into that arena.
The ancient city of Daura, the hometown of late former President Muhammadu Buhari, is in a somber mood of mourning. The sorrowful mood envelopes the residents of the former president as mourners gather at his residence to condole with family and friends of the deceased. One of the former president's closest friends, Mr. Suleiman Amani, and his driver, Mr. Yao Chiroman Baka, believe that the late president's simplicity made him remain deeply connected to his community as they urge Nigerians to emulate his good deeds and forgive his offenses.
Muhammadu Buhari is a principled person. He once told me that he never siphoned public funds, so people should learn how to be just and trustworthy. It is now that Nigerians will realize that they missed a good father and leader, especially Northerners. May his gentle soul continue to rest in peace.
Wallahi mutum ne mai riko amana mai rike Najeriya tana bukatar irin wa'annan mutanen.
Nigeria needs people with Buhari's character. If any of his cabinet members share some of his qualities, Nigerians will have no reason to travel abroad for greener pastures. His loss is painful, and I urge Nigerians to please find a place in their heart to forgive his misdeeds in his military career as petroleum minister and as president for 8 years.
Gabanci tun daga soja, yayi gwamna, yayi minista.
Governor Diko Rada of Katsina State is among the early callers as he leads a delegation that includes state officials and former president of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan.
His ascension or his election into the office of the president in 2015, the first instance, was as a result of his track record of public service, of duty, of integrity in public service.
Meanwhile, there is heavy security presence in Daura town, including the entrance of the Daura Emirate Council. However, commercial activities continue uninterruptedly along the major road linking the residence of the former president. The mood on Sultan Road in the government-reserved area of the Kaduna metropolis is calm as residents come to terms with the death of the former president Muhammadu Buhari, who is one of the prominent residents of the area. However, there is no presence of sympathizers at the Kaduna home of former President Buhari. Only security guards are in duty. They informed Channels Television that relatives of the former president had traveled to Daura, his hometown in Katsina State. However, some neighbors and associates of the late leader describe him as an incorruptible and kind individual.
In terms of security, he actually provided for the security personnel. He provided for so many things. But for this capital project, this road, actually, I will live for long to remember him. We're really fine with him. He's very good, very kind person, very honest person. He's very kind with us. Very well. That's all, food, money, everything we needed.
The late former president had moved from Daura, his hometown, to Kaduna on February 27, 2025, almost 2 years after leaving office. It was from his Kaduna residence that he traveled to London for medical treatment, where he passed on at the age of 82.